Ladies and gentlemen, this is the reason that we are at court today. Because Sawyer Shaw uttered these words as a criteria that she would use to determine who stayed and who was fired. Now, Miss Winter, had no control over how old she was. She was not able to change whether or not she looked like a parent. And what we did today was prove to you through the evidence that in fact that was the reason that Miss Winter was fired and not because of her performance. So let's briefly recap the evidence that we heard today. First, we heard from Miss Bobby Lynn. She is Miss Shaw's secretary at TBD. Miss Lynn is the one who told us that she overheard that conversation between Miss Shaw and Miss Martin, where Miss Martin said, "How are you determining who stays and who goes?" And of course, you know the answer to that. If they look like us, they stay. If they look like our parents, they go. Of course, after that, Miss Shaw knew that that could look bad. So she made sure to keep on one or two older riders so that nobody would get a bad idea about what she was doing, or in her own words, no one would get litigious. Next, we heard from Dr. Sam Owens. Now, Dr. Owens is one of the most respected doctors in the field of discrimination practices. And Ms. Owens went through 3 factors and concluded for us today that it is highly possible, highly likely, that discrimination would take place at TBD. She listened to she looked at what is in the case today. She reviewed all of that information and all of what Ms. Lynn testified to about the ageist comments that were made about Ms. Winter, about Ms. Shaw coming out and calling Ms. Winter a dinosaur. Well, it wasn't a hard thing to decide for Dr. Owens that it was highly possible, highly likely for discrimination to occur under Ms. Shaw. After that, we heard from Ms. Winter herself. And Ms. Winter, who's a highly reputable and highly credentialed writer who's been nominated for Pulitzer Prizes, stated, and we showed you evidence, that everything that Ms. Shaw asked her to improve on, she did. Ms. Shaw wanted her to become more familiar with social media so as to better engage a younger generation. And what did Ms. Winter do? Well, of her own initiative, she went out to a social media training seminar to do just that. Ms. Shaw asked Ms. Winter to write shorter articles, not the long think pieces that she was used to. And what did Ms. Winter do? She wrote shorter articles. Not only that, she also increased the number of articles that she was writing per week so as to meet Ms. Shaw's demand to make the company online only. Now, Ms. Winter did all that she was asked to do. But of course, there's that one thing that Ms. Shaw could not get over, and that was her age. That she looked like her parents, as Ms. Shaw has said. Now, we also heard testimony today from Ms. Shaw. Ms. Shaw, who had motive to fire my client, Ms. Winter. And of course, someone might argue that she didn't fire her when she fired the rest of her generation, the 70% of riders over 40 in that first round of hirings. But we know why. Because Ms. Shaw knew that that would look bad. Now, Ms. Shaw is driven to make profits, and that's a great thing. But beyond that, we have laws in this country that protect protected classes like Ms. Winter. So it's up to you today, the members of this jury, to speak on behalf of the American people and to tell Ms. Shaw that she is not above the law, but is subject to it just like all of us here. Now, we are here in court today because TBD is attempting to cover up its actions. But there are some things that they cannot cover up, no matter how hard they try, and that is their words. These are the words of TBD. And these phrases reflect the attitude at TBD and of its CEO, Ms. Sawyer Shaw. Of course, Ms. Sawyer Shaw wrote on the birthday card that was given to Ms. Winter on her 50th birthday that had a dinosaur on the cover. Only 50? You don't look a day over 60. And then in that infamous email that Ms. Shaw sent out canceling TBD's 50th birthday party, she said age is embarrassment. She circled on that birthday card that Ms. Winter received a comment that said, celebrate like there's no tomorrow. At your age, that might be true. Not only did she circle that, but she wrote well done next to it. And unfortunately for Ms. Winter, that was a self-fulfilling prophecy because there were not many tomorrows for Ms. Winter after Ms. Shaw circled that comment. And of course, Ms. Shaw said these words here that accurately encapsulate the hiring and firing criteria at TBD. If they look like us, they stay, and if they look like our parents, they go. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we, as the plaintiff, recognize that we hold the burden of proof in this case, and that it is up to us to prove to you that that Ms. Winter's age was the primary motivating factor in her termination. And in a practical way, you can imagine the burden of proof like two scales, the scales of justice, in front of you. And they're equal. There's not one higher than the other or lower than the other. And if you add a feather to one side of the scale, it will tilt ever so slightly in the other direction. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all the evidence that we needed to show you today in order for you to rule and to render a verdict in favor of Ms. Winter. One feather. How about 4 feathers? And all of the other evidence that we have given through the testimony today. Now, this is not a difficult case. I would implore you to use your common sense in this case, to not gloss over what TBD wants you to gloss over. Words have meaning, and words reflect actions. So I would implore you to consider all of the evidence that you heard today, to remember that people should not be able to get away with the kind of stuff that Ms. Shaw has gotten away with, to act illegally in the way they run their businesses. I would ask you to return a judgment, render a verdict in accordance with the evidence that you heard today that says that if they look like us, they stay. If they look like our parents, they go. Just does not fly. Hold Ms. Shaw and TBD liable and serve justice for Ms. Winter. Thank you.